Let's talk about Roth Conversions. Roth Conversion is a strategy designed to help minimize taxes over the course of an investor's lifetime and even stretching over to the next generation potentially. It's not suitable for everybody. It's simply one of the tools that's available via the tax code at this point in time that can make sense and can be quite useful for some folks. So let's talk about who it can benefit and how it can benefit those people. We have taxes that have already occurred. So we have, look at taxes, we have past taxes, current taxes, and future taxes. Those are the broad categories. Past taxes have already been paid. So that is a known cost that is now sunk. In economics, we talk about sunk costs. It's a cost that's already been paid. There's nothing you can do about it. There's really no sense in even worrying about it. It's already happened. We have current costs, which are known, are current taxes. We know the current tax code. That's something we know for sure. And future taxes, we don't know. We can speculate. We can assume that they'll be the same, maybe slightly higher, maybe a lot higher, probably not lower, but we don't really know what the future tax rates will be. So all we can really do is deal with the current situation that we know now. When it comes to the Roth conversion, what we're talking about is converting IRA dollars to Roth dollars. IRA dollars, we have not paid taxes on those yet. When we made an IRA deposit, it lowered our taxable income, but we haven't paid tax on the money in the IRA yet. When we take the money out of the IRA, we've got to pay taxes. So when we take it out, we pay the known current tax. When we put the money in, it saved us a past tax rate. But when we take it out, we pay a known tax. With the Roth conversion, we're moving it from an IRA to a Roth IRA, paying a known current tax so that we don't have to pay an unknown future tax. So let's look at a specific example of how this might have worked. Let's say at age 35, you generated income of $100,000 and you made a $5,000 IRA deposit. That would generate taxable income of $95K at age 35. If you're in the 22% marginal tax bracket at that time, which is the current tax rate, that $5,000 would have generated a tax savings of $1,100. Because you're taxed on $5,000 less at 22%. That's a savings of $1,100 in that year. That's taxes you didn't have to pay. Now let's fast forward to age 65. Let's pretend you're retired. So your income is a lot less. You're retired, you're no longer working, you have some taxable income from investments, etc., maybe a part-time job, and your taxable income is now $35K. And in this situation, if we take that $5,000, that same $5,000 deposit, and we move it from your IRA to a Roth, that's going to increase your taxable income by $5,000, in this situation to $40,000. So you actually pay more tax than you otherwise would. However, instead of the 22% rate when you were 35, here we're at a 12% tax rate. Quite a bit lower. And in this case, 12% on $5,000 is a $600 tax. So essentially, you benefit from the difference here, which is $500. You saved $1,100, you paid $600, you benefit from a $500 difference, and this $5,000 that goes into this Roth will never be taxed again. It won't be taxed when you take it out. If it's inherited to your kids or some other beneficiaries, they will not pay tax either, at least under the current tax code. So that's helpful not only for the retiree, potentially later in life, particularly if tax rates go up. Again, we don't know, but if tax rates go up even higher and the Roth dollars come out tax-free, that's going to feel really good. Last concept. Who does this make sense for? Again, it doesn't make sense for everybody. But the basic concept here is on the grand timeline of life. We have a few different stages. So we have our formative years, and then we have our peak earning years, where we're making the most money. During this time frame of, say, 30 to, say, 65, this is when we're typically in the highest tax bracket. Maybe we're in a 30 to 40% bracket, marginal tax bracket during that period. If we retire at age 65, we're likely, as I mentioned, going to drop into a lower tax bracket. Now, not for everybody, but for a lot of folks. This is early retirement. Maybe we're in the 10 to 20% bracket. And then there's another important date, which is age 72, at which point all investors are required to begin taking withdrawals from their IRAs and 401ks, pre-tax dollars. This is the RMD, requirement of distribution period. And because that's all taxable income, that could push us up into a 25% or higher tax bracket. Could be substantially higher depending on the size of the 401k. So the ideal period typically to execute a Roth conversion is in this early retirement period. Again, not for everybody, but for most folks who have paid a higher tax rate previously are interested in locking in a lower tax rate on their IRA money to reduce the potential that in the future their tax rates will be higher because their income is higher, and also the possibility that tax rates go up. So the sweet spot for the Roth conversion is in this early retirement window before age 72, typically, and even better before taking Social Security, because Social Security is partially taxed. That can push up the total taxable income as well. So really, it's probably 67 being the traditional full retirement age. Between early retirement and age 67 is even more ideal for most folks. So it can be a small window, 2 or 3 years, but for those folks, this strategy can make a lot of sense. It's important to understand the entire situation for any individual, but I hope that's helpful in understanding how the strategy works.